The night shift at Lunar Base 1 was usually quiet. Most of the time, the Deep Space Monitoring team just watched their screens, drank coffee, and waited for their shift to end. But on this particular night, everything changed. Dr. James Miller was about to leave after his 12-hour shift when the quantum signal detector started beeping. At first, he thought it was just another space rock giving off strange readings. These things happened all the time. He walked over to check the screen anyway. It was part of his job. The coffee cup in his hand crashed to the floor when he saw the readings. "This can't be right," he muttered, pushing his glasses up his nose. The signal was like nothing he had ever seen before. It wasn't random space noise. It had a pattern. A very clear pattern. He pressed the emergency button, calling his team back to the monitoring room. Within minutes, the quiet room was filled with excited voices and the sound of fingers typing quickly on keyboards. "Look at these patterns," he said, pointing at the screen. "This is a message. Someone out there is trying to talk to us." The team worked through the night, trying to understand the strange signal. They used every computer they had, running the signal through different programs. Finally, after 8 hours of non-stop work, they started to understand what they were seeing. "It's a distress call," Dr. Miller announced to the room. His voice was shaking. "And it's coming from the space between galaxies." The news spread quickly. Within hours, the president of Earth's United Nations was woken up. Emergency meetings were called. Scientists from every country joined video calls to discuss what they had found. The message, once they understood it, was both amazing and frightening. There was a fleet of alien ships out there, not just a few ships, but 50,000 of them. They were stuck in the darkness between galaxies, their engines broken. They needed help. Some people didn't believe it at first. "It must be a joke," they said, "or maybe we're reading the signal wrong." But Dr. Miller and his team checked everything 3 times. They were sure. "The signal is real," he told the emergency meeting of world leaders. "Someone out there needs our help. The question is, what are we going to do about it?" The debate went on for days. Some leaders wanted to ignore the signal. "We barely have ships that can reach Mars," they argued. "How can we help someone trapped between galaxies?" Others wanted to try. "This could be our chance to meet aliens," they said, "to show what humans can do." While the leaders argued, Dr. Miller and his team kept studying the signal. They learned more about the alien fleet. The ships were huge, each one bigger than Earth's largest cities. They carried millions of aliens from different species. They had run away from some kind of war, using special engines to travel between galaxies. But something had gone wrong with their engines, leaving them trapped in empty space. The most surprising thing was that these aliens had technology far more advanced than anything on Earth. Their ships could bend space itself. They had computers that could think better than human brains. But something had broken that even they couldn't fix. Finally, after a week of meetings, the world's leaders made their decision. Earth would try to help. They would send their best ship, the ESS Pioneer, to meet the alien fleet. Nobody knew if they could actually help such advanced aliens, but they had to try. As Dr. Miller watched the Pioneer leave Earth's orbit, he wondered what would happen next. Humans were about to meet aliens for the first time, not as enemies or as students, but as possible helpers. It was strange to think that beings so advanced might need help from Earth. He looked at the signal on his screen one more time. Whatever happened next would change everything. Humanity's greatest adventure was about to begin. The ESS Pioneer moved through space, carrying Earth's hopes with it. Captain Tom Reynolds stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak by. After 3 weeks of travel using their best engines, they were finally getting close to the alien fleet's location. Engineer Anna West worked in the engine room, checking their systems for the 100th time. She knew they were using Earth's most advanced technology, but compared to what they might find, their ship probably looked like an old wooden boat. "Captain," the ship's radar operator called out, "I'm picking up something huge ahead of us." The crew gathered around their screens. In the darkness between galaxies, Where there should have been nothing, they saw lights. Thousands of lights, spread out across space like a city in the night. "Send the greeting message," Captain Reynolds ordered. His mouth felt dry. They had practiced this moment many times, but now it felt different. This was real. The alien fleet's response came quickly. Strange symbols appeared on their screens, then changed into English words. The aliens had already learned their language from studying Earth's broadcasts. "Welcome, humans," the message read. "We did not expect your kind to answer our call." The Pioneer moved closer, and the crew saw the alien ships clearly for the first time. They were enormous. The smallest one was bigger than any city on Earth, and the largest was the size of a small country. They were built in strange shapes that didn't look like anything humans had ever made. A video call came through. Captain Reynolds straightened his uniform and nodded to his crew. "Here we go," he said quietly. The screen lit up. The alien commander didn't look anything like humans had imagined. It looked like a tall pillar of crystal that glowed with different colors. When it spoke, its whole body flickered with light. "I am High Commander Light of Distant Suns," it said. Its voice sounded like music. "We are surprised that humans answered our call. Your civilization is very young." Captain Reynolds tried to hide his nervousness. "We're here to help," he said, "if we can." The alien commander's colors changed to something like blue. "You are brave to offer, but our problem may be beyond your understanding. Our quantum drive cores are failing. The technology is far more advanced than anything your people have made." Engineer West stepped forward. "Can you show us what's wrong?" "Sometimes a fresh look helps." The aliens agreed to let the humans visit their main ship. Captain Reynolds picked his best crew members for the trip. As they rode the shuttle toward the massive alien vessel, Engineer West studied the strange designs. "Look at that," she whispered. "They don't use any simple machines. Everything is quantum this and AI that. I wonder if that's part of the problem." The inside of the alien ship was like a dream. Corridors that changed shape as they walked, rooms that seemed bigger on the inside than outside, and windows that showed impossible views of space. They met more aliens. Some looked like clouds of light, others like moving shadows, and some like giant butterflies made of crystal. The aliens told their story. They had run from a terrible war in their galaxy, using their advanced drives to escape. But something had gone wrong during the journey. Their AI systems couldn't fix the problem. And none of them understood how the technology really worked anymore. They had depended on computers for so long that they had forgotten how to solve problems themselves. Engineer West listened carefully as they explained the drive system. Most of it was beyond her understanding, but some parts reminded her of simpler engines she knew. "You know," she said slowly, "sometimes the most advanced problems have simple causes. Maybe we should look at the basic physics first, before we worry about the quantum stuff." The aliens looked at each other, their bodies changing colors in surprise. They hadn't thought of that. They had been looking so hard at the complex parts that they forgot to check the simple things. As the humans began their inspection, Captain Reynolds realized something important. These aliens might have better technology, but humans still had something valuable to offer. A fresh way of thinking, and the ability to solve problems with basic tools. The real work was about to begin. Engineer West stood in front of the alien engine room, her mouth open in amazement. Instead of the pipes, wires, and metal parts she was used to, she saw crystals floating in the air. Streams of light moved between them like rivers of energy. "This is your engine?" she asked, walking around the floating crystals. The alien engineer, a being that looked like a cloud of purple smoke, moved next to her. "This is the quantum drive cord," it said, "or what's left of it. The patterns are breaking down." West pulled out her tablet and started taking readings. The numbers made no sense to her. They changed randomly, following no rules she understood. "Can your AI systems fix it?" "We have tried," the alien said. Its voice carried a tone of defeat. "Our computers cannot understand what is happening." The breakdown patterns are too chaotic. Captain Reynolds watched from the doorway as more human engineers arrived. They all had the same confused look on their faces. Everything here was too advanced, too different from what they knew. But then something interesting happened. One of the human engineers, a young man named Bill, pulled an old-fashioned compass from his pocket. As he walked around the room, the compass needle spun wildly. "Hey," he called out. "There's something weird with the magnetic fields in here." The aliens looked at each other in confusion. "Magnetic fields?" one asked. "We haven't used those in centuries. Our systems are far beyond that." But Engineer West got excited. She pulled more simple tools from her bag. Things that measured heat, pressure, and electrical fields. The aliens watched with curiosity as the humans walked around their engine room with these primitive devices. "Look at this," West said after an hour. She pointed to her readings. "The quantum stuff might be breaking down, but it's causing problems with basic physics too. These energy patterns are creating weird magnetic fields. The fields are probably making things worse." The alien engineers gathered around her tablet. They had been so focused on the quantum mechanics that they hadn't thought about simple physics. Their advanced sensors hadn't even been designed to look for such basic problems. "Can we fix it?" the purple alien asked. West scratched her head. "Maybe. But we need to understand exactly what's happening first. Could you show us how the drive worked when it was healthy?" The aliens brought up a hologram showing their drive system. It was beautiful but complicated. The humans watched it several times, trying to make sense of it. "It's like a nuclear reactor," Bill said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. "I mean, not exactly, but the way the energy flows. It's similar to how we control nuclear reactions back home." West's eyes lit up. "He's right. We might not understand the quantum physics, but we know about containing and controlling energy. Maybe we can help stabilize the system using what we know about basic physics." The aliens discussed this among themselves. Their bodies changed colors as they talked, showing their mixed feelings. Finally, the purple alien turned back to the humans. "Our people have not thought about basic physics for generations," it said. "We let our AI handle everything. But now the AI cannot help us. Perhaps we need to remember the old ways." Captain Reynolds stepped forward. "That's why we're here," he said. "Sometimes you need to take a step back to move forward." Over the next few hours, the humans set up their simple measuring devices around the engine room. They started making diagrams and charts, mapping out how the energy moved through the system. It wasn't pretty or advanced, but it was helping them understand the problem. The alien children were especially interested in what the humans were doing. They had never seen anyone work with their hands like this, solving problems without asking a computer for help. "We'll need more people," West told Captain Reynolds at the end of the day. "And we'll need to teach the aliens how to use these tools too. This is too big for just our team." Reynolds nodded. He could already see that this problem was going to take all of humanity's ingenuity to solve. But for the first time since they arrived, he felt hopeful. Sometimes the simplest tools could solve the biggest problems. Earth's response to the alien fleet's crisis was faster than anyone expected. Within days, ships carrying hundreds of engineers and technicians were racing through space toward the stranded fleet. Among them was Mark Foster, a retired submarine mechanic who had worked on nuclear engines for 30 years. When Foster arrived at the main alien ship, he didn't say much at first. He just walked around the engine room, looking at the floating crystals and energy streams with calm, experienced eyes. "Reminds me of my first submarine," he finally said, surprising everyone. "Beautiful machine, but when something went wrong, you had to think fast and work with what you had." Engineer West watched as Foster pulled an old notebook from his pocket and started drawing. He didn't use any computers or fancy tools, just paper and pencil. "Sir," she said, "these are quantum drives. They're nothing like submarine engines." Foster looked up from his drawing and smiled. "Energy is energy," he said. "Whether it's nuclear power or quantum whatever, it needs to flow in a controlled way. When it gets out of control, bad things happen. The alien engineers gathered around as Foster explained his ideas. He drew simple diagrams showing how they could create mechanical backups for the quantum systems. The aliens were confused at first. They hadn't used mechanical systems in hundreds of years. "Look," Foster said, pointing to his drawings. "Your quantum controls are failing because there's too much chaos in the system. But we can add simple mechanical failsafes, like putting a safety valve on a pressure cooker." The alien commander's crystal body flickered with doubt. How can primitive mechanical devices help with quantum technology? Because they don't rely on complex computers, West jumped in, understanding Foster's plan. They work on basic physics. Even if the quantum systems go crazy, the mechanical backups will keep working. The humans started building their first test system on a small part of one drive. They used materials from their own ships, creating simple but strong mechanical controls. The aliens watched with growing interest as the humans worked with their hands, solving problems without asking computers for help. Some of the younger aliens started helping, learning how to use simple tools for the first time. They were amazed at how satisfying it felt to fix something with their own hands. "The energy patterns are stabilizing in this section," one of the alien engineers announced, its body glowing with excitement. "The mechanical controls are actually working." Foster nodded, not looking surprised at all. "Sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution," he said. "Now we just need to scale it up." The news spread through the fleet. More aliens came to watch the humans work, curious about these beings who could solve problems their advanced AI couldn't handle. They were especially impressed by how the humans worked together, sharing ideas and trying different approaches until they found what worked. "Your people are very strange," the alien commander told Captain Reynolds. "You use simple tools but think in complex ways. We have forgotten how to do that." Reynolds watched as Foster taught a group of alien children how to use basic hand tools. "We had to learn to solve problems with whatever we had," he said. "It made us creative." By the end of the week, the first full-size test was ready. Everyone watched nervously as they activated the mechanical control system on one of the smaller ship's drives. The quantum energy swirled and sparked, but the simple mechanical fail-safes held it steady. "It works," West shouted, looking at her readings. "The drive is stabilizing." The alien crew's bodies lit up with joy, filling the room with beautiful colors. Even the most doubtful aliens had to admit that the humans' primitive solution was working. But they all knew this was just the beginning. They had proven their idea could work, but they still had to fix 49,999 more ships. It would take time, materials, and a lot of hard work. Foster just smiled and opened his notebook to a fresh page. "Well," he said, "we better get started." The massive repair operation was unlike anything humans had ever attempted. Ships from every nation on Earth arrived daily, bringing engineers, mechanics, and tons of materials. The space around the alien fleet looked like a busy construction site in space. Engineer West stood in the command center, looking at the big display screen. Green dots showed the ships they had fixed, yellow dots showed ships being repaired, and red dots showed ships still waiting for help. There were still too many red dots. "How are we doing on time?" Captain Reynolds asked, joining her at the screen. West pointed to some readings. "Not good. The quantum drives on the unfixed ships are getting worse. The breakdown is spreading faster than we expected." In another part of the fleet, Mark Foster was teaching a group of aliens how to install the mechanical control systems. The aliens were quick learners, but it was strange for them to work with their hands. They had relied on robots and computers for so long that simple tasks like using wrenches felt awkward to them. "That's it," Foster said encouragingly, watching an alien that looked like a silver spider carefully adjust a control valve. "Trust your instincts. The metal will tell you when it's tight enough." The alien children were the best students. They gathered around the human workers, asking endless questions and wanting to try everything themselves. Their natural curiosity hadn't been completely replaced by computers yet. "Why does this piece connect to that one?" a young alien asked, its crystal body glowing with bright colors of interest. "Because we need to control the energy flow," Foster explained patiently. "Just like controlling water in a pipe. Too much pressure and things break." But not everyone in the fleet was happy about the humans helping them. A group of aliens called the Purists thought it was wrong to use primitive technology on their advanced ships. They held meetings to protest the repairs. "These humans are making our ships less advanced," one Purist leader said, its dark body pulsing with angry red lights. "We should wait for a proper solution from an advanced civilization." The alien fleet commander called an emergency meeting to address these concerns. The grand meeting hall was filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes, their bodies creating a beautiful light show as they argued. "We don't have time to wait," the commander said, its crystal form glowing strongly. "The quantum drives are failing faster each day. The human solution may be simple, but it works." Just then, alarms started blaring throughout the fleet. Engineer West ran to her monitors, her face going pale at what she saw. "The quantum drive on ship number 12,458 is going critical," she shouted. "The breakdown is accelerating." The ship was in the middle of the fleet, surrounded by thousands of others. If its drive exploded, it could start a chain reaction that would destroy hundreds of ships. Without waiting for orders, human and alien repair teams rushed to their ships. They had to reach the failing drive before it was too late. The Purists watched in silence as humans and aliens worked together, racing against time. Foster led the emergency repair team. Despite his age, he moved quickly through the ship's corridors, carrying his toolbox. "We'll have to install the fail-safes while the drive is still running," he said. "It's dangerous, but we have no choice." The next 2 hours were the most tense anyone could remember. The repair teams worked frantically, installing the mechanical controls while energy sparked dangerously around them. The drive's warning sounds got louder and louder. Finally, West's voice came over the radio. "Energy levels are dropping. The fail-safes are working. We did it." The cheer that went up through the fleet was deafening. Even some of the Purists had to admit that the humans' quick action had saved many lives. That day changed everything. The aliens realized that advanced technology wasn't always the answer. Sometimes you needed human courage, quick thinking, and simple tools to solve big problems. The repair work continued, but now with more urgency and less argument. Time was still against them, but at least now everyone was working together. The repair work had been going well for 2 weeks. Almost a quarter of the fleet's ships had been fixed, and repair teams were working faster every day. But the Purist aliens hadn't given up their fight against using human technology. Late one night, when most of the repair crews were resting, alarms started ringing throughout the fleet. Engineer West jumped from her bed and ran to the control room, still wearing her sleek clothes. "What's happening?" she asked, rushing to her screens. "Multiple drive failures." The alien technician's body flickered with panic colors. 15 ships are showing critical readings at the same time. Captain Reynolds arrived just as West was checking the data. Her face went white. "This isn't natural," she said. "Someone did this on purpose. The safety systems have been turned off." The Purists had made their move. They had sabotaged the repair work, thinking that if enough ships were in danger, the fleet would have to abandon the human solution. "We have less than an hour before the drives explode," West said, her hands moving quickly over the controls. "And these ships, they're not random. They're in a pattern. If they go, they'll take half the fleet with them." The alien fleet commander called every available repair team. Humans and aliens rushed to their emergency stations, but everyone knew they didn't have enough time to reach all 15 ships. Mark Foster stepped forward with an idea. "We don't have time to reach the ships one by one," he said. "We need to split into teams, and we need to teach more people how to help. Right now." For the next 10 minutes, Foster and the other experienced engineers quickly taught hundreds of aliens and humans the basic repair steps. They had no time for detailed lessons. They could only teach the most important things. Remember, Foster told them, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Now go. Small repair ships scattered across the fleet like busy bees. Each endangered ship had a mixed team of humans and aliens. They had to work in spacesuits, making the repairs from outside the ships, because there wasn't time to dock and go inside. West coordinated from the control room, watching the clock tick down. 40 minutes left. She called over the radio. Team 7, your ship is getting worse faster than the others. Focus there. Captain Reynolds worked with the fleet commander to evacuate the areas around the failing ships. They had to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The repair teams floated in space, working as fast as they could. Their tools floated around them, making every job harder. Some of the aliens who had never worked with their hands before were learning to make repairs while hanging in space. 30 minutes. West's voice was tense. Foster's team had finished their first ship and was racing to help another team. He watched as human engineers worked side by side with aliens of all kinds. They were using sign language and simple gestures to communicate, not having time for translations. 20 minutes. In the control room, West noticed something strange. The pattern, she said suddenly. The sabotaged ships make a pattern like a net. If they explode, the energy waves will trap the whole fleet. We'll all be destroyed. 10 minutes. Some teams reported success, but others were still struggling. The purists who had caused this trouble watched in shock as their plan brought humans and aliens closer together instead of driving them apart. 5 minutes. Foster's voice came over the radio. Last ship. We need more hands here. Aliens who had been against the repairs rushed to help, their glowing bodies lighting up the darkness of space. They had realized their mistake too late, but maybe they could help fix it. 1 minute. Everyone in the fleet held their breath, watching the final teamwork. Humans and aliens working together in space, racing against time to prevent a disaster. 30 seconds. West stared at her screens, watching the energy readings. Everything depended on what happened in the next few moments. 10 seconds. The fate of 50,000 ships and millions of lives hung in the balance. Drive systems stabilizing. West's voice broke the tense silence. All ships showing normal readings. The cheer that filled the fleet's communication channels was deafening. Humans and aliens celebrated together as the last damaged ship's readings returned to safe levels. They had done it with just seconds to spare. In space, repair teams were hugging each other, not caring if they were human or alien. Foster watched as his team members' spacesuits bumped together awkwardly in their excitement. Even the alien children were dancing in zero gravity, their crystal bodies creating beautiful light shows. I've never seen anything like it, the fleet commander said to Captain Reynolds. Its crystal body glowed with warm, happy colors. Your people did the impossible. You saved us all. The purist leaders approached the commander, their dark bodies now showing colors of shame. We were wrong, their leader said. We thought advanced technology was the only answer. But we almost destroyed everything because of our pride. Reynolds watched as human and alien repair teams returned to their ships. Sometimes the best technology isn't the newest, he said. Sometimes it's the one that works. Over the next few days, the mood in the fleet changed completely. The aliens who had doubted the humans now wanted to learn everything they could about simple machines and basic engineering. They realized that depending only on computers had made them forget important skills. West found herself teaching alien engineers about basic physics. They were amazed by simple things like levers and pulleys. Your people kept this knowledge alive, one alien said, its body glowing with respect. We almost lost it forever. The alien children were especially eager to learn. They followed Foster everywhere, asking questions about tools and machines. Will you teach us how to fix things? They asked. "We want to learn to work with our hands." The fleet commander called a grand meeting to make an important announcement. The Great Hall was filled with humans and aliens, all waiting to hear what would happen next. "This crisis has taught us an important lesson," the commander said, its crystal form glowing brightly. "We became so focused on advancing our technology that we forgot the basics. The humans reminded us that true wisdom means keeping old knowledge while gaining new." The commander announced that the fleet would start a new school, where humans would teach aliens about basic engineering and problem-solving. In return, the aliens would share some of their advanced technology with Earth. "But we will share it slowly," the commander added, "so humans don't make our mistake of forgetting the simple things that make them special." As the humans prepared to return home, the aliens gave them a special gift. They created a permanent gateway between Earth and the fleet's location, using their quantum technology. This way, humans and aliens could visit each other and continue learning from one another. Foster stood with West and Reynolds, watching the first group of alien students arrive on Earth. They were going to study at universities and technical schools, learning things their advanced civilization had forgotten. "Did you ever think this would happen?" West asked, smiling as she watched alien children excitedly picking up wrenches and screwdrivers. "That we would end up teaching beings hundreds of years more advanced than us." "It makes sense," Foster said, closing his old notebook for the last time. "Sometimes you have to look back to move forward." They just needed someone to remind them of that. Reynolds looked up at the sky, knowing that somewhere up there, 50,000 ships were safely continuing their journey, each one carrying a piece of human innovation with them. "We didn't just save their fleet," he said. "We helped them remember something important. And they helped us too. They showed us that no matter how far technology advances, the human ability to think, adapt, and solve problems will always be valuable." As the sun set on this new chapter of human history, both species looked forward to learning from each other. The universe was a big place, full of problems to solve and mysteries to uncover. And now, humans and aliens would face them together, combining the best of both old and new, simple and advanced, working hand in hand toward a brighter future.